My name is Andre Royal Sr., or Chef Andre Royal, the suddenly sleepy chef. I was diagnosed with narcolepsy at the age of 33 after moving from California to Oregon. I had just begun a new career outside the kitchen. I was deeply impacted and had to rework certain aspects of my day-to-day routine, which included cooking. Food is my passion. Over time, I discovered meal prepping was key not only to time management, but helped me maintain wakefulness in a fun, exciting, and more efficient way. Welcome. Today I join you from a commercial kitchen, and I'm excited to share with you a high-energy meal that you can make from home when energy is the challenge. Let's get cooking. Today I'm making a beef stir fry. I made extra beef so that way I can portion it out and use it throughout the week. That's pro tip number 1. Make a little extra when cooking your proteins and your grains. I call this focus tasking. For example, in essentially the same amount of time to cook 1 pot of rice, you can cook 3. Maybe in 1 pot you'll boil wild rice, another brown basmati rice, forbidden rice, and another is quinoa, a high energy white rice alternative. Also a great way to keep things fun and fresh with meal prep. It may cost you in a few pots and pans in the moment, but you'll get the time back when you have already prepped for leftovers. Here are the ingredients. 1/4 cup sesame oil plus 1 tablespoon separated, 1 small head of broccoli cut into florets, 1/2 cup red bell pepper, 3/4 cup carrots, 1/2 cup half zucchini, 1/2 cup cremini mushrooms, 1/4 cup edamame, 2 tablespoons soy sauce or cocoa aminos, 1 tablespoon cornstarch, omit for keto, 2.5 tablespoons water, 1/4 cup chopped onion, 1/2 tablespoon kosher salt, optional, spicy peppers, optional to wake up those taste buds, 2 teaspoons of honey, orange slices for garnish, 2 tablespoons chopped fresh ginger root, 2 cloves garlic, minced. Just chopping up a little bit of garlic. You could use fresh ginger or you could use minced ginger or powdered ginger. I personally like the fresh stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this here red bell pepper. You can also use green or yellow bell peppers. And we're gonna cut them in about, 3/4 inch squares, or you can do strips, however you wanna do it. Make it how you want it to look. And here we have a carrot. Carrots are fun. There's a lot of ways you can cut a carrot. After peeling the carrot, slice in layers to use later as a garnish. I like to keep them in water to stay fresh. All right, I'm gonna grab some cremini mushrooms, one of my favorites. I like this dish because it's a great one to wean off of takeout. A common go-to for those too tired to cook. It's also a budgeter's dream. No fancy ingredients and easily adaptable to what you already have on hand. Whether you are keto, vegetarian, or just plain hungry, everybody loves a stir fry. Now, I've already shelled some of the edamame, just like so. And here we have some broccoli we're gonna make into some florets and cut off a little bit of the stem. I like to leave mine a little on the longer side. I'm adding zucchini, a stir-fry favorite, as are green onions for flavor. Pro tip number 2. People living with sleep disorders have very unique and individual rhythms throughout the day when they are especially awake or tired. And we have to spend our time accordingly. I really encourage you to cook when you have energy. The energy you spend will come back threefold through well thought out, healthy meals ready to eat. I'm gonna mix my sesame oil with a little bit of soy sauce, or you could use some aminos. And we're gonna add a little bit of cornstarch, and that's gonna help us make a slurry. It's gonna be very important later when you make your sauce to thicken up. I'm gonna make sure there's not a whole lot of lumps in here. A slurry is simply a thin, runny sauce. I got about 3/4 cup of water. I'm gonna set this to the side. Today I'm using about 1/3 of the beef that I prepared in the crock pot. You can use tofu or you can use chicken, whatever your dietary requirements are. I like adding in mushrooms, getting some caramelization on the onions, throwing in the vegetables that I want to remain a little crisp later into the wok. And pro tip number 3, timers are your friends. Find a fun one and keep it with or near you if you need to step away. Set an alarm on your phone. I use mine. Most importantly, try to make the time to focus so that you aren't too easily distractible. Multitasking on social media is a great way to pass the time and forget what you're doing, and possibly scorch a meal or worse, start a fire. I don't recommend that. There we go. Got a nice good sear on the meat. The vegetables are going. Threw in some hot peppers, a little spice, and this is the secret. We have that cornstarch and sesame oil with the aminos. All right, in just a few more minutes, this will be ready. And we have a beautiful beef stir fry. All right, now we have our choices. We have wild rice or we have quinoa. Today I'm going to be plating with quinoa. Now's the fun part. You get to play with your food. Get creative. Maybe even have the kids or whoever's plating their food get creative right alongside with you. You get an assortment of vegetables in there. Some zucchini, some crimini mushrooms, some bell pepper, some of those lovely carrots. I'm gonna garnish this with some orange wedges, some carrot ribbons, sprinkle a couple of these, and some green onions for good measure. Bunny ears, anyone? Looks delicious. Tastes even better. I hope you enjoyed your time here today. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this high energy meal. Thank you for joining me in the kitchen. Well, thank you guys for joining me here. There's a train and a whole lot of rain going on, so my apologies. It's difficult to hear. I would love to answer any questions you may have, so send them my way. Oh, first question. There will be a recipe that will be made online on social media, so you can go to Narcolepsy Network and you'll be able to see the recipe and recreate it yourself.
And let's see, the other question so far, how do you peel the ginger? With a sharp knife. I definitely recommend a sharp knife, a small one, like a paring knife. That's what I use. Let's see here. Ooh, there's a lot of questions coming in. All right. What specifically makes a meal high energy? Well, there's a couple things that factor into it. One, the ingredients. You know, fresh vegetables are great. Quinoa is considered a high energy item, but more importantly, the time you're going to save from meal prepping, the lack of lethargy that you're going to experience as a result of actually having a hand in your meal prep and being able to hone in on the types of ingredients that you use and not putting a bunch of extra filler, preservatives, and other things that sometimes you'll find when you're cooking outside of your kitchen. So the fresher, the better, the more energetic. Let's see. All right, let's see. Do I have any other recipes that are simple to make when we are all too tired? Um, let's see. I don't usually typically go by a lot of recipes. I might use some as a guide, and I do a lot of winging it. Um, I like to have fun in the kitchen, improvise, and to be honest, recipes are great. They're really suggestions sometimes, so be careful when you're following those recipes because you'll notice some of the pictures don't look like what the directions say. Like if you see any recipe that says cover and let vegetables simmer for like a half hour and the picture's all bright and colorful, run as fast as you can. Let's see. Um, do you have any aspirations to create a cookbook or a series of recipes for persons with narcolepsy? This was awesome. That was in the question. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Uh, I would love to do a cookbook. I don't know if it's going to be a coffee table book or something along those lines, but I started doing some children's books recently, and the first one just happens to be about a chef who happens to be a hippo. And so it's called The Hippo Critic. And it's a read along coloring book, a color along storybook, and you can draw on it and doodle in it. Eventually, I would like to do like a cookbook and some recipes that are, really specific for having fun and also high energy. So not just people with narcolepsy, but people who may be tired, new moms, new dads, uh, people who just need some tips in the kitchen. One, so the kids will love the food, they'll love the food, and it won't be so much of a unenjoyable chore. So let's see. Let's find another question here. Is there a secret to getting good consistency with the cornstarch and water? Does temperature matter? I would say use cold water, preferably when you're mixing in the cornstarch. But after you mix the oil in the cornstarch, that makes kind of like a paste. You add the cold water, you whisk it, and you shouldn't have any kind of lumps or anything like that. It should just be almost like the consistency of glue. And if you're adding it to something, it helps if whatever you're adding it to is hot. That's going to cause it to thicken up a lot quicker. So I hope that answers your question, Sue. And let's see what's next. Is it true that the type of dish you make helps your energy level? Also, I will be making it next week. Thanks. The type of dish you make, yes, can help your energy level. Depending on your diet and how you feel on what you eat and consume, that can make a difference too. Like, beef, I chose beef because I could save some time and cook it overnight, do the crock pot thing. And it was easy for me to prepare other things. You can use chicken. It's a little easier to process. If you're a vegetarian, go straight vegetables. You can find other ways to add protein in there. You can be, conscious of whatever your dietary needs are. But the main thing is to participate in your own nutrition. That will help create an interest, and also over time, you're burning calories because you're having a hand in it. You're exercising in a sense, but you can eat the end result, so that's good. Let's see. What's the best way to prepare quinoa? How long must it be? I would say that quinoa is pretty much very similar to making rice, except for at the end, you kind of want to give it a little forking, for lack of a better term, to kind of fluff it up. But it's typically the same ratio, 1 to 2, 1 cup of quinoa to 2 cups of water. Let's see, what do we have here? Any, sorry, my setup, let me try to read this question. Oh, okay. The medications often give me stomach ache, so what ingredients can you recommend to use or avoid? Okay, that is a good question. If your medications are giving you stomach aches, I would say, be really cognizant of your body and the types of things, if it has an effect of how you feel, if it aggravates nausea, things like that. So I wouldn't do things like, if you're kind of lactose intolerant, or if it's already giving you problems and you notice there's an issue there, maybe don't tempt fate at that particular time when you're already nauseous. But other than that, I don't have a whole lot of real tricks. I like warm, soothing things that helps if they taste better. I think if it tastes better, that's always great for nausea. So that's about the best advice I can give on that one. Let's see. Ooh, anonymous attendee. Those are my favorite. I often do smaller meals or snacks because larger meals can make me sleepy. Unfortunately, that can lead to eating more processed foods other than raw fruits and veggies. Any suggestions about healthy and easy snacks I can make ahead of time? There's kind of like an old saying, like, are you hungry? And I say it's an old saying because I would tell it to my kids, like, are you hungry, or are you like willing to eat an apple hungry? Because if you're not willing to eat an apple, then you're not really hungry. So I recommend, picking, fresher fruits, vegetables, that kind of things that are going to leave you more satiated. The processed stuff tends to leave you more craving. There's usually a lot more salt, fat, and sugar, things, preservatives, and they have all kinds of wizardry and trickery that they do with food these days when they put it in a package sometimes. And, the more you can kind of distance yourself from some of that, the better. If you are going to get prepackaged stuff, find a brand that works for you. Maybe even read the labels. That can be tricky too. But, try to minimize it. Don't beat yourself up, too much for, taking a shortcut, but realize it is a shortcut. It's not the only way, and maybe not the only route you should take. But do what you can to make it a little bit easier, but do what you can and always try to make it a little bit healthier. All right, let's see. Do I ever eat foods that make me sleepy? Yes, I do. And sometimes I will eat foods on purpose so that I can try to go to sleep. Like for me, potatoes, like mashed potatoes, are kind of like a tranquilizer. I rarely try to eat those or almost any kind of potato during the day. But it's more important that I'm aware of my surroundings when I'm eating food in general. Am I going to have a heavier meal? Am I going to need to call a cab? Am I going to need to call a wheelbarrow? It just kind of depends on the situation overall. And let's see, what do we have here? Is being a chef a good profession for a person with narcolepsy? Well, I think that's an individual choice. If you can manage your situation with your lifestyle and or medication, whatever suits you, and you find yourself being able to keep up with productivity, great. There's different levels of productivity depending on the types of work that you do. You have to be very aware of your own personal output. If you should be working in a fast-paced place, or maybe something a little more cafeteria style, maybe fast-paced, but not, it just depends on you. I didn't have formal training per se, and I didn't go the traditional route, but I was so passionate about it. I just had to keep finding ways to make it happen. And I think that's all the questions. So thank you guys for joining us, and I appreciate the time, and look forward to uh, cooking some good food, and maybe one of these days I can share another recipe with you.